G'day footy fans, Dane Clark here with the Round 8 wrap-up, a weekly video series where I sit in front of my computer, I write some notes and talk about all of the games from the past weekend. I give a little bit of a brief overview on both teams, I give a stat from the game, something I thought was very prominent to the result, and then I finish off on a positive note and give 2 likes for each team. If you're a regular viewer of this series, you're used to it being uploaded on Monday. Now it's Tuesday at lunchtime. I pretty much came off night shift, felt good, and then just died for 17 hours. I've only just woken up, come out of my cave about half an hour ago, but I got this done nice and quick, so I do apologise for the weird timing. I put my hand up, it's entirely my fault, but hopefully some of you can watch it on your lunch break or school break, whatever, and still enjoy the video. So let's start off with the first game of the round, guys. The Bunnies defeated the Broncos 38-6. I thought this was great work by the Bunnies. I sort of had the feeling they would come out of this one and win pretty convincingly. Not so much to that result though. But again, it was a whole team effort by the Bunnies. There was no real clear standout like we saw from other teams this round. We'll talk about Ruben Garrick, Latrell Mitchells, etc. It was just a team effort where they all put in. And for that reason, I thought it was super impressive. And I thought they shown why they are premiership heavyweights. For the Broncos, I thought it was a very poor effort. I know the stakes weren't particularly tied into the players. It was more so from the coaching point of view. But they didn't turn up with the right attitude to win. And you can blame that on the Tommy Dearden debut, although I thought he was great. Broncos fans, you could make that excuse. However, that was the club's choice to not play Nikorima that week and play Dearden. They never really looked dangerous at any stage throughout this game. And I think the scoreline fairly represents that. Stat. Broncos made 12 more tackle breaks, but only 2 line breaks. So that's 36 tackle breaks for only 2 line breaks. So I think the Rabbitohs defense really needs to be commended there. I think that's a clear sign that they were scurrying and, really playing for each other there. One thing I liked for the Rabbitohs guys, I thought it was Burgess giving his jersey to a young disabled fan after the game. I thought that was just absolutely beautiful. If you'd like to watch that video or read the story behind it, that column's on my page if you scroll down a little bit. And for my like for the Broncos, I like Tommy Dearden. A lot of people saying he's not ready, he's only 18 years old. Well guys, who was the last 18-year-old halfback to debut in our game? I'll tell you who. His name was Nathan Cleary, and he's now the current New South Wales Blues halfback. So hopefully Dearden is in for a promising and potentially similar career to that of Nathan Cleary's. All right, Cowboys defeat the Titans 28-14. You guys already know I bloody hate that result. And this might sound a little bitter from myself given I am a Titans fan, but I wasn't overly impressed with the Cowboys despite that scoreline. They were very poor at stages throughout this game, and they had so many opportunities to put this game to bed, but they just kept inviting the Titans back into it. Ultimately, the Titans weren't good enough, but if that was a more superior team, then the Cowboys probably wouldn't have walked out of this one with a victory. But regardless, a win is a win, especially for a struggling club like the Cowboys. For the Titans, the effort was there in patches, but that's not enough in the NRL. The effort needs to be there for the full 80. You can't have these lapses, and I know there was injuries. I know there's a couple of excuses you can make, but world-class teams, top teams like the Bunnies that we just spoke about, have that concentration for the full 80. Until they develop that, they'll continue to be a bottom 8 side. Their attack was better than the Cowboys, I thought. Obviously, the scoreline doesn't depict that opinion, but they were just out of sorts defensively, and it wasn't a good enough effort by the Titans. Stats. Titans won all major stats. I'm talking line breaks, tackle breaks, meters made, everything you want to win, possession, completion. It was all there for the Titans. However, the Cowboys had 120 plus more post-contact meters, which is pretty concerning there. Obviously, you need to be stopping that leg drive and allowing them to walk up the field. So they walked more than the lengths field with post-contact meters, which is very impressive. My like for the Cowboys was Johnny A in the halves. Now, I know Asiata obviously isn't a long-term solution there for the club, but short-term, I thought he looked a lot better than Tamir Martin, Jake Clifford have playing alongside Michael Morgan this year. Whether that's the fact he allows Morgan to play that more dominant role, which we know he enjoys, or it could be something else. I'm not certain, but I did like him there as opposed to Clifford and Tamir Martin. And AJ Brimson for the Titans. I love Michael Gordon, but AJ was just dangerous. Every time he touched that footy, he basically played the whole game at fullback, given Gordon was ruled out with a HIA early, and I really liked him there. Sharks defeat the Melbourne Storm 20-18. Probably one of the upsets of the round. Now, the Sharks were brave. They thoroughly deserved this win. Again, it was an all-round team effort. They have a lot of rookies and young guns littered throughout that side, but I thought they were all fantastic, and they really did rise up and play to the standard of their opposition, and that is, of course, the Melbourne Storm. And onto the Storm. Again, they were far from their best, and for once, the scoreline reflects that. I think all year I've sat here and told you guys, blah, 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 the Storm, they weren't at their best, but they don't need to beat a lot of teams. Maybe they do. Maybe we're starting to see a bit of chinks in the armour and cracks appear here for the Storm. Bellamy, he's certainly had enough. He's threatened players to be dropped this week. And guess what, guys? Their feeder club, the Sunshine Coast Falcons, just won by 68 points. They've got a lot of great stars there ready for NRL also. So if Bellamy's a man of his word, we can expect some pretty big changes later today when Team List Tuesday is revealed. I just think there's something wrong with the Storm's effort at the moment, guys. On field, they still have the same stars and star potential. I think they might be rocking up with this sort of attitude that we are the Storm, and that might have worked in 2017 when they were just absolutely obliterating everyone with Cooper Cronk and Billy Slater there. It's just not working for the moment. They need a big attitude change. Storm got frustrated, guys, and for once we saw them on the opposite side of the penalty count. They gave 9 penalties, the Sharks only gave 5. My like for the Sharkies, I liked young Kyle Flanagan. His stats were very close to Chad Townsend, and it's only his 3rd NRL game. I thought he really standed up, and he had a great game. And my like for the Storm was Ryan Papenhuyzen. I'd like to see him start this week. I thought he was phenomenal in the small game time he did get, but I was very impressed. Raiders defeat the Panthers 30-12. I haven't said this once this year. Geez, the Raiders are good. Felt good to get that in my system. As a team, it just gels amazing at the moment. And they don't have the strongest side on paper, but the cohesion and the chemistry throughout their 17 is there. It's obviously been a focus of the preseason because everyone is on the same page when Jack White is going to run the footy or when Sam Williams is going to set up a backline play. And individually, there is still so much more improvement throughout this team, which is scary. A lot of their players are not playing at their best, which is scary. It really is. Panthers, I thought they hit another low. I hate to say this because you should never rule a team out in the NRL because it is such an even competition, but I think their season is done after that game. They had to win, they had to win, and they had to just turn up as a team, and they really didn't. 56 possession, 66 completion rate by the Panthers. So they had 56 possession, guys, and only 66% completion. I've never seen a stat like that in all my days covering this sport. I thought it's just appalling. My like for the Raiders, it's impossible to pick just one, so I'm going to say I love the way this club is playing at the moment. And for the Panthers, I like James Tarmow. He's continuing to stand up as the captain. He ran for 172 metres, guys, and that was 30 plus anyone else in that game. Since being appointed captain, guys, I really like how he stood up and taken his game to a new level. The Sea Eagles defeat the Bulldogs 18-10. The Sea Eagles were better than I expected. They weren't great, but they were better than I expected. They were injury ravaged, so they do have a lot of excuses there. You know, no Cherry Evans, no Tom Trbojevic. Lachlan Croker left the field with a hamstring injury. But the biggest thing that I've taken out of the Sea Eagles season so far this year, Trent Barrett has no excuses left. Last season as a coach, he made up every excuse, and Des Hasler has just come in with a fresh approach, and he has this team firing and winning games despite missing 2 Australian players. Australian Kangaroo players, Tom Trbojevic, Daly Cherry, is probably 2 of the best in the world at their position. So pretty crazy. And Trent Barrett, yeah, his excuses, he has none left. Bulldogs, very poor. This is a team, I've told you guys, they will continue to improve. They'll go up and down, but they will eventually continue to improve with their young halves. Now, I've just got mail in that Lockie Lewis is set to be dropped this week, guys. So whether that comes true or not, I'll be researching that after this and get a post out for you guys as soon as possible. But these sort of games will happen every now and then again when you have 2 young, inexperienced halves. You know, it'll be going up, we'll go down a little bit, we're improving again, and every now and then you're just going to go straight down because mentally you fall out of the game. They weren't appalling, but they were far from their best. And like I said, with a side that's improving slowly with very young, inexperienced spine, every now and then again, those sort of games will occur. Stats. Bulldogs, 80 more tackles, 45% possession, and 83% possession. 45% completion and 83% possession. Now, you're thinking, okay, their stats aren't too weird. But look, I think what happens with the Bulldogs when they are forced to make more tackles, I'm talking through repeat sets, the other team completing their sets, etc., they shell up, and instead of trying to play their sets out to a result, I'm talking a forced dropout or a try, etc., they focus more on the completion. They think, oh, we're behind here, we need to complete this set. Our forwards are tired here, we need to complete this set and get just a safe kick away. Their halves really shell up, and as a team, they focus more so on completing rather than a result. My like for the Sea Eagles, Ruben Garrick scoring all 18 points. I cannot believe the Dragons let this guy go. So Mary McGregor let him go at the end of last year, guys. He signed a 1-year deal with the Sea Eagles. A couple months later, he then signs Lachlan Maranta to the Dragons because he was one outside back short. Well, Mary, you could have kept Ruben Garrick. Very poorly played there. My like for the Bulldogs, Jaden Ockenbar, most meters in the game. I think he had about 180. Just super impressive. And I think a move to the back row is probably inevitable at some stage in his career. All right, Roosters 42, Tigers 12. Guys, do we expect any different from the Roosters at this stage? From what they've shown us and how dominant they are, do we expect anything different? They are the best rugby league team in the world, and I think they've shown it again. I don't have too many other words for this game. And for the Tigers, I think my whole system might have just lagged a little bit there. I do apologise. If so, hopefully it's all good for the rest of the video. Tigers, they were outclassed, plain and simple. And this happens to every team at some stage of the season. So if I was the Tigers, I wouldn't look into it too much. Although it is concerning. I believe it's only a fortnight after they were thumped by 45 or so points by the Eels. Wild signs of inconsistency, if so. Stat. Roosters ran for around 550 more meters, guys. That is insane. That's more than half a kilometer more. And we're talking a 100-meter field. They ran up, back, and then to halfway again. While the Tigers must have just been sitting on one end of the field. If you put it in perspective, that is insane. My like for the Roosters, it was Mitchell Magic. Latrell Mitchell with a hat-trick. This kid can be anything. He is a superstar. And my like for the Tigers was Ryan Madison scoring against his old club. I always like to see players get one back on their old club. All right, stay with me, guys. We've got 2 more games to cover. Knights 36 defeat the Warriors 18. The Knights are back, baby. And whenever Pearce and Ponga connect and play with that sort of cohesion, running that back line, they are a real top 8 chance. This was an amazing win from home. Warriors, not at their best, but they played right into the Knights' game plan, and they didn't involve Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. For more on what I just said there, I wrote a really good column on this, pretty much breaking down all the stats, etc. And it's really amazing if you read it. I think you'll enjoy it. For the stat, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, only 2 kick return meters. That is insane, given we're talking about the 2018 Dally M medalists there. My like was Pearce continuing to own the game in big moments. Something he hasn't always been able to do in his career, so it's great to see him do so. My like, Adam Blair. He made 8 runs. Last week, he only made 1. I think he belongs on the bench. I think that's a better spot for him there. Eels defeat the Dragons, 32-18. The Eels flex their muscle again at home, and here's a fun fact, guys. They are 100% win rate undefeated at Bankwest Stadium. There's only been 2 games, but still a nice stat to have. Dragons, slightly off day, but we might see this from a couple teams that head to Bankwest Stadium. It's a great atmosphere. It was built as primarily a soccer stadium for the Western Sydney Wanderers. And soccer stadiums are built a little bit differently. They're built sort of more steep. I'm not sure on the exact physics behind it, but no doubt the crowd's atmosphere plays a huge factor here. We don't have too much evidence to go off, but we do have the Dragons coming here looking a little rattled, and we have the Tigers who were definitely rattled on the day opening. Stats. Nothing of interest here at all, guys. I've scoured. There's just not much there. I liked, for the Eels, Reid Marnie scoring a try, plus making the most tackles on his team, with Andrew McCullough going down at training yesterday with a likely long-term knee injury. What are Reed's chances of Origin? They're looking pretty likely at the moment. And my like for the Dragons was Blake Laurie. He is hugely underrated. He made 15 hit-ups, second to Paul Vaughan, who had 16. He is a real rugby league player on both defense and offense. I love his work. That is going to wrap up the round 8 wrap-up. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. And again, before I go, I'd just like to apologize for the weird upload time. But hopefully you get a chance to watch it regardless. And I'll see you guys later today with my tipping video. Cheers, guys.